Okay, we are live. Hi, this is William Ramsey. Welcome to William Ramsey Investigates. On today's show, I have two very special guests, two returning guests. One you'll see on the top is J.J. Vance, not J.D. Vance, also from Ohio, distant relative of our vice president who is really good at trolling, as good as President Trump, believe it or not. And also we have Nick from the Occult Rejects, and we were in the pre-show kind of talking about some of our earlier shows.
Yes.
And Nick and I are, I think this is our 14th or 15th. And JJ and I have done, this is our fifth. Let's see, we did 4 solo together and did a number with the Occult Rejects. But JJ, let's go back and look at some of our earlier shows we did. Did we go to the moon? Something funny about Joe Rogan.
Right.
We talked about Ackerman, who was the kind of publisher for all these kind of sci-fi characters. He was a character in his own right in Hollywood. And I forgot, we did one other one. I forgot what it was. But anyway, today, if you're watching this on Rockfin, Rumble, or X, we are going to talk about this strange event, the Zizians. The Zizians trans death cult, which is unbelievable. I don't know how many connections there are. There was 3 known deaths. It ties back to California, I think upstate New York, somewhere else. But I was kind of read through this stuff, and one of these characters, which is unbelievable, kind of ties in, and I was posting this on social media, may tie in to a show we did, the Occult Rejects did, about this guy Scarlet Blake in Oxford. And the reason it could tie in is that one of the guys involved in this trans escapade is from Oxford. So, you know, it's kind of a community, the trans community. His name is Maximilian Bentley Snyder, and I think he's in jail in Vallejo.
Yes.
And anyway, these guys can talk more about that. I've done a little bit of research on my own, but I was talking to Nick, kind of chatting and messaging. He says he has enough information to go over an hour easy. So we may be here a while, but we can get right to it. So Nick and JJ, welcome back to the show.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Yeah, looking forward to this.
Great. Where should we get started? I mean, who wants to start? And you guys just kind of take the helm.
I mean, I guess I'll start it off, and then if there's anything JJ wants to add as I'm going, I'll like stop or whatever. But yeah, I think he knows like when to come in and stuff. I think. Correct, JJ? You're good? You good, sir?
Good to go. Yes, sir. Yeah, I appreciate the invite here to talk these things, William. It's an interesting.
Great. It's great to have both of you again. I'm really happy to have you back.
Nice. Interesting cult for sure. Interesting cult.
Definitely. And even the connections JJ has is just weird, really weird. I guess
you guys have done a number of shows. Like I follow your, stuff that you put out on Occult Rejects, and you guys have done 2 or 3 shows on this at least, right? Didn't you do a Saturday show?
Yeah, we did it on. We all did it together, and then he was on when we did it, and then he's coming on now. We did it on the Reality Czars, but JJ wasn't there for that.
Gotcha. And Lisa usually is here too.
Yeah. Actually, half of the notes are hers. I have to give her a shout out. Half of this.
Cool. Lisa Solis.
Yes. So first, I guess I'll get into it just for like a news article in case there's people who like really aren't just exactly sure, and then I'll start going into the people that are involved in the case and start looking into like where they went to school and just their connections, and you start to see like something. You start to see it shape then. Who are the Zizians, the cult-like group under FBI investigation? And this is a story by Trevor Hughes from USA Today. The arrest of 3 people in Maryland has helped shed new light on a series of connected deaths across the country that experts say are tied to a group called the Zizians. Named after the purported leader Jack Ziz Lasota, who's 34, the group is connected to at least 6 deaths nationwide, according to police. Interviews with people who know group members and the FBI and court records. So the FBI was even has been involved and has been watching them as well. Lasota was assigned male at birth, but uses female pronouns. And federal and state records refer to Lasota as a man. Experts and people who know them say the group is led by Lasota, who in online postings discuss the nature of consciousness and rational decision-making. Many of the group members are vegan and either have degrees in computer science or have studied related fields. Some members of the group are transgender or have rejected binary sexuality. The group at one time was based in the San Francisco area, living in a box truck on a landlord's property. Members also appear to have lived in North Carolina and Vermont. Citing Lasota's online postings, Pitcavage said that the group has elements of a religious cult. Now, the people that are being charged You have Michelle Zacco, who's 32, who was arrested with a handgun alongside Lesota and another man in Maryland. And Zacco faces state charges for trespassing, resisting, or interfering with an arrest, obstruction, and carrying a handgun. ATF agents also pursuing federal charges against Zacco over allegations that she lied on purchasing paperwork for several guns bought in 2024, in which were later used by two other people in Vermont during a double fatal shootout with the U.S. Border Patrol agent. Zacco was also a person of interest in the Pennsylvania homicides of her parents in late 2022, according to the court filings. Daniel Blank is 26, who faces Maryland charges of trespassing, obstruction, and hindering in connection with the arrest. He is also a suspect in the death of Zacco's parents, who were killed near where he grew up. Lesota faces Maryland charges of trespassing, obstruction, and possession of a handgun in a vehicle. Court records in Vermont also referred to Lesota as a person of interest in the deaths of Zacco's parents. Lesota may have faked his own death in April 22, according to an obituary in his hometown Alaska newspaper, which we'll get to. So a few of these people, I think, faked their own deaths, actually. Teresa Youngblood, 21, accused by federal prosecutors of shooting at U.S. Border Patrol agent David Milland on January 20th near the Canadian border in northern Vermont. Milland was killed in the exchange, and the German national Youngblood was Milland was killed in the exchange, as was a German national Youngblood was traveling with, Ophelia Buchholz. Federal court filings indicate Zacco bought the guns Youngblood and Buchholz were carrying. Youngblood is in federal custody. And finally, Max Snyder, who's 22, who late last year got a marriage license to wed Youngblood in Seattle, Washington, where they grew up. Snyder is accused by Solano County, California, and prosecutors of ambushing and fatally stabbing a landlord who in December 2022 tried to evict Lesota and the other group members from his Vallejo, California property. The landlord shot two of the group members, killing one in an incident ruled self-defense by prosecutors. I don't know if there's anything you guys wanted to say before I went on. You guys wanted to ask?
It just says it just shows it's a multi-state, multi-jurisdictional situation. And I saw some of the pictures of their kind of compound in Vallejo or Solano, Northern California, near San Francisco. And it gave me the vibe of True Detective. That's
what it looked like, right?
Yeah, it really did.
I
And I think they were walking
that.
around with gas masks like True Detective. And I don't know if they were trying to emulate it or whether it was unintentional or intentional, but it looked just like it because True Detective had those steel, transport boxes or whatever you call them that are use international shipping containers or whatever. So
even at one point, the cops get called on them because they're walking around where you're allowed to have a handgun out, out in the open, but they were just doing it so blatantly. They were even something's wrong with these people, especially with the way they're dressed. So they were even walking around with the guns on their hip at one point. Zero fucks.
Amazing.
Yeah.
This is you wonder why the landlord gets involved with letting them stay on his property in the first place too. That's why I've always thought there's more to that story.
I agree with you, JJ. I just do find weird the whole thing, even with that landlord. As we get into it, it's the guy was living on a boat and he was kind of near some boat docks and he was homeless and they were homeless and this guy felt bad for him and just told him they could stay on his property. I don't know. I sometimes wonder if there's just more to that story. I don't know if I'd let some random weirdos I met at the boat dock go sleep in my fucking yard. Let's be real. I mean, I don't know. At least maybe I'm from New York. I'm a little bit different, but just to me, that doesn't sound normal.
And they didn't just murder the guy. There seemed to be something personal with the beef there because they stabbed his eye out first and they went back later and killed him, correct?
Yes. Yeah. Yep.
Wow. Incredible.
So this is Jack Amadeus Ziz Lesota. He's from Germany and he graduated magna cum laude from the University of Alaska Fairbanks. He was also a 2013 SESI summer intern at NASA. His father, Dan, is an AI researcher for the University of Alaska Fairbanks. Ziz also interned at NASA and Oracle, and like many young tech entrepreneurs, moved to the Bay Area for proximity to the tech industry, which I considered sort of my destiny, which is exactly what he wrote in 2019 on a blog. So let me go to the next slide here. There we go. All right, then a timeline of here's a look at a timeline of events of the series of killings. January 20th, a highway shootout. A highway shootout that killed a border patrol officer in Vermont is based on an Associated Press interviews. Sorry, I think I'm reading stuff I don't really need to. We'll go on to the next one. Sorry. Jack Lasota, who uses feminine pronouns and a computer programmer, and transgender woman living in San Francisco Bay Area, starts writing a blog under the online persona Ziz, with complex and sometimes rambling theories about technology, gender identity, and human cognition. Ziz gets involved in the rationalist movement, a community that seeks to understand human cognition and is concerned with the potential dangers of artificial intelligence. There, Ziz had a stint at Google. He took part in the apprenticeship by the Machine Intelligence Research Institute, which is very important, and the Center for Applied Research is the Center for Applied Rationality, CFAR. Became part of a rationalist movement in Berkeley, according to the San Francisco Chronicle. And at this time, when he kind of ends up in the Bay Areas, where he would start to kind of grow the Zizians. Now we're going to talk about MIRI, which is up on the screen. The Machine Intelligence Research Institute. The Machine Intelligence Research Institute, formerly the Singularity Institute for Artificial Intelligence, is a nonprofit research institute focused since 2005 on identifying and managing potential existential risks from artificial general intelligence. MIRI has focused on a friendly AI approach to system design and on predicting the rate of technology development. This is important. In 2000, Eliza Yudkowsky founded the Singularity Institute for Artificial Intelligence. In 2005, the institute moved to Silicon Valley and began to focus on ways to identify and manage those risks, which were at the time largely ignored by scientists in the field. 2006, the Institute organized a Singularity Summit to discuss the future of AI, including its risks, initially in cooperation with the Stanford University and funding from Peter Thiel. In December 2012, the Institute sold its name, web domain, and the Singularity Summit to Singularity University, and in the following month took the name Machine Intelligence Research Institute. Machine Intelligence Research Institute, a Berkeley not-for-profit, buoyed by Peter Thiel and Sam Bankman-Fried through Alameda Research, and is associated with the rationalist movement. MIRI warns about the dangers of AI and studies the mathematical underpinnings of intelligent behavior.
Right. Now, so it went from the Singularity to the Singularity University, and then morphed into MIRI with the Thiel connection and Bankman-Fried, who's in jail, right?
Yeah, and like JJ could even tell you, when you start getting into this rationality stuff and this, less wrong and all that altruism, that goes back to Sam Bankman-Fried too.
Wow,
he was definitely a pioneer in that movement.
Yeah, he re-sparked it all over again.
He's got numerous crossovers outside of the MIRI Institute here. He's got numerous crossovers with some of the Zizian folks, folks within the group, not necessarily the group as a whole, but certainly this Silicon Valley community with these rationalists are certainly intermingling.
I looked up MIRI, where its offices are. They're right off Berkeley campus. I knew it. I've walked by there 30 years ago or whatever. I know that area. It's right off of Bancroft.
Small world, right? Just to get into a little bit of Lasota's thinking in the mind. Lasota believed that humans have two minds, a left and right hemisphere, and each hemisphere can be good or evil, according to posts on his blog. Eventually, Lasota came to believe that only very few people, he among them, are double good, which means that both sides of your brain are good. On her blog, Lasota wrote that each hemisphere can have separate values and even genders, and they often desire to kill each other. This is in parentheses. Reaching peace between hemispheres with conflicting interests is a tricky process of repeatedly reconstructing frames of game theory and decision theory in light of realizations of them having been strategically damaged by your headmate. What that means, that came out of Lasota's. They typed that on the blog. Lasota also describes being targeted by police for her Sith-inspired garb. Sometimes cops harass me for wearing my religious attire as a Sith, Lasota wrote on her blog. As a Sith, I'm religiously required to do whatever I want, and for now, that so happens to include wearing black robes. So, like, I mean, you even got this kid. I mean, this is here at this.
Do what I want. That's a Crowley overlap too, right? I do whatever I want.
Yeah.
Wow, that's wild.
All right, let me continue. Lasorda attends programs organized by rationalist groups, but splits from them after they reject her theory and that the two hemispheres of the brain can hold separate values and genders. Lasorda and 3 others, Emma Bohanian, Gwen Danielson, and Alexander Leatham, are arrested during what they call a protest against sexual misconduct with the rationalist organization. Over time, Lasorda's relationship with the CFAR soared. On November 15, 2019, the Center for Applied Rationality was holding an event in Sonoma County, California. Lasorda, then 28, and 3 others showed up wearing robes and Guy Fawkes masks, popularized, obviously, by the dystopian film V for Vendetta. And they showed up with that protesting. And the police were called, and the 4 were ultimately charged with felony, criminal conspiracy, and 5 misdemeanors, including false imprisonment. And as the criminal case was still playing out, they hired a lawyer, and Ziz did hire a specific one. And my boy JJ will kind of go into him. I think is a little interesting.
Did you want to cover some of that stuff now, or do you want to save some of that stuff towards the end because it gets a bit of a detour here? But
okay, all right, that's fine. Fine.
I'll just give on that note. I'll give you a quick note on that. Is the guy that he hires is a very prominent attorney who ran for District Attorney of Los Angeles last year, deeply connected to a number of questionable figures, including these animal rights communities, which is something the Ziz cult was interested in.
Animal rights, as in like best friends animal rights?
Precisely. That's correct, sir.
Wow.
That's correct, sir. All right. Well, real quick, just to, this is according to a post, and I haven't mentioned this before. Supposedly, this is why they went there and protested. MRI, on her post, it says MIRI paid out to blackmail over statutory rape, theft of donor funds to deceive donors. CFAR helped cover it up, implemented in part of their president and founder pushing anti-rationality and anti-ethics. This is enough institution betrayal to make anyone flinch into betrayal of blindness. She also does make claims, like I said before, that there was rape covered up, and that they are kind of against transgender people because none of them have ever gotten promoted or gone anywhere. So that's some of the reasoning, supposedly. Now to get into Amir. See, where was that? Oh, sorry. A little lost with the things here. All right, Amir Bohanian. Bohanian was born in South Carolina in 1991 and grew up in North Carolina. He was diagnosed with Asperger's in his youth and transitioned to female at age of 21. Bohanian exhibited brilliant intelligence as a child and started computer programming in the 6th grade. A person close to Emma remembered that as a teenager, that he would scour Google's code and identify mistakes, for which the company would pay him for. Around 2013, moved to the Bay Area to work officially for Google, first as an apprentice and then as a programmer, winning awards for work. Bohanian later became disillusioned with Google, telling the family that the company was corrupt. He grew concerned about the threat of AI and started spending time with the rationalist community in Berkeley, as well as people associated with MIRI, an organization to which she donated $12,000 to, alongside much larger donations like Peter Thiel and the Peter Thiel Foundation and Sam Bankman-Fried. You can even go see on their sites how much money they've donated. Through the rationalist community, Bohanian met other Zizians, including Ziz, Danielson, and Alex Leatham, but the foursome soon turned on the rationalist movement, accusing it of anti-trans belief. According to Andy No on Twitter, he says, I found the Twitter X account of deceased Ziz trans terror cult member Bohanian. He was deep in Antifa anarchist ideology and followed several prominent Antifa accounts, and then names a couple of them. Not going to bring them up. Bohanian posted about the importance of killing Nazis and argued repeatedly that killing is central to justice and vengeance against evil. His family, I love this one, fundraised $20,000 on GoFundMe without disclosing what he had did that caused him to die. Leftists have honored Bohanian for being a trans person killed in gun violence. Wow. Silly shit. Gwen Danielson is considered now a former Zizian cult member, and while it was widely believed that they died by suicide, it's actually person is actually alive and is in hiding from the other members of the group. Gwen Danielson has thought to have died in 2022, even by a lawyer representing her in an active case, but has instead been lying low at an undisclosed location. Danielson, who like many Zizians is transgender and legally became a woman in 2018, according to court papers. And they state she still fears for her life, according to her father, Brett Danielson. And he says she checks in regularly, and I've heard from her very recently, but she's not ready to come out of hiding just yet. I'm hoping this allows Gwen to come out of hiding and put things behind her and move on. And the father says he honestly thinks that Brett says his understanding of why the Zizians most happen to be transgender or non-binary is that I found this weird, and why does the father even know this? As part of their rationalism interests, they believe taking estrogen led to clearer thinking.
Wow.
Which, if you're a man and you do have low doses of estrogen, it can actually do that. Not saying to do this, but it will work. Believe it or not, a small dose of estrogen actually make men more muscular. As crazy as that sounds. Gwen spoke a lot about the difference in the way of mental acuity with estrogens versus testosterone. He told the Post. Now into Alexander Leatham. Alexander Leatham, Open Vallejo documents report that Leatham also lived on the Vallejo property with Lesota and Bohemian. It is alleged that it was Alexander who impaled Curtis with the samurai sword. Lind then fired shots to his attackers, wounding Leatham. Leatham is charged with attempted murder and murder of Curtis Lind. Lind had survived the first attack and was the key witness in the trial against Leatham and Dow. According to additional court papers, Leatham and Dow is also being charged with the murder of their friend Borhini. Now we'll get into a little bit of the Center for Applied Rationality. In case people didn't really know much about that, that is a non-for-profit organization in Berkeley, California. It hosts workshops on rationality and cognitive bias. It was founded in 2012 by Julia Galliff, Anna Solomon, Michael Smith, and Andrew Critch. Their goal was to improve participants' rationality using a set of techniques from math and decision theory for forming your beliefs about the world as accurately as possible. Part of the rationality movement surrounding Eliza Yudkowsky website is Less Wrong. If you ever heard of that, that's a big site for them. And the group also teaches classes for Facebook and the Thiel Fellowship. Anna Solomon, co-founder of CFAR, organized events that were attended by Lesota and associates who are now suspects. Even she had said at one point, if you're young and naive and someone convinces you that you're really two people, one is good and one is sinister, the world depends on you on doing good stuff. That powerful setup for manipulation. So like even this lady who was involved in this stuff and was kind of like this person's mentor even said this person's gone fucking nuts. So
they were biohackers, so they were doing weird sleep stuff too, right?
Yes, that was another thing. Yes. I get into that when I cover another one.
Okay, cool. Oh,
yeah.
I didn't mean to jump in.
No, that's
a lot of this rationale stuff, Nick, is, correct me if I'm wrong, is all kind of focused around the programming of AI, right? That's what all these quote unquote rationalists and ethical things are. They're using these terms in a different verbiage. That got a slightly different meaning for these folks, and it's in reference to, the programming of AI, right?
Yes. And then CFAR even has like a scholarship that is provided by Jan Tallinn, who was the founder of Skype.
Oh.
Yeah. And he's the Estonian billionaire. He's a computer programmer and investor. He's development of Skype, Fast Track, and Kazaa, MetaMed, and existential risk. And selected Estonia students are sent to workshops. And like Estonia is like it is like known as like one of the best like in the world. Estonia's education system has the highest scoring in Europe, top 3 to 5 in the world. So there's even something I just find that interesting that Jan Tallinn is involved in that. He's also involved with DeepMind AI.
Wow.
Yeah. The Google project.
He was a Series A investor and board member of DeepMind alongside Elon Musk, Peter Thiel, both of them. In a Series A class of preferred stock sold to investors for exchange for their investments. So yeah, DeepMind is a British American AI research laboratory and subsidiary of Alphabet Inc.
Google. Right.
Google, yep. Creepy, right? They're all mixing together, aren't they?
Mm-hmm. Founded in the UK in 2010, acquired by Google in 2014. Was my next line. So, yeah, it merged with Google's AI, Google Brain, and Google DeepMind, April 23rd. So, the U.S. Coast Guard. Now we will get into a little bit with Ziz faking his death here. I did mention that before. Let me just get to the slide here. Here we go. So, Jack the Ziz, it's the Zith himself. The U.S. Coast Guard responds to a report that Lesotho had fallen out of a boat in San Francisco Bay. No body is found, and an obituary is published. In August of 2022, Friedman received word that Lesotho was presumed dead after falling off a boat in San Francisco Bay. A brief obituary was published in Lesotho's hometown paper, the Daily News Miner in Fairbanks, the following month. And it states, Jack Amadeus Lesotho left our lives, but not our hearts on August 19th after a boating accident. It read, loving, adventure, friends, and family, music, blueberries, biking, computer games, and animals, you are missed. Lesotho's lawyer emailed the attorneys for the retreat center, informing them of the death. There were witnesses in a U.S. Coast Guard search. I verified with the Coast Guard. It even says in the thing, but nobody was found. Fake
and it's a wild tale. Not the only fake death in this group, right? But I wonder, how much this California attorney of Ziz has helped out with this whole charade in this instance of the fake deaths.
And it's like really hard to like even actually. I mean, for me, it's a little bit easier now because I've done this a few times. But like even the first few times, I was still confused who's who at some point. Right. So like when you want to changing sexual identity, I'm a guy or I'm a girl today, and some of them have multiple aliases. Like, how do you even know who's dead or who's alive anymore when you're starting to fake stuff?
That's the magic of the Zith Lord, right?
Zith. Jack the Zith Lord. Oh,
right, good.
Let me get to the next slide. Sorry about this. All right, next one. Here we go. There's Curtis Lynn after he got stabbed in the eye. Curtis Lynn goes to court seeking to evict Lesotho, Bohanian, Leatham, and others who have been living in vans and box trucks on his property in Vallejo, California, for non-payment of rent. On November 15th, 2 days before the eviction deadline, Lynn is impaled with a sword and partially blinded in an attack during which he shoots and kills Bohanian. Concluding that Lynn acted in self-defense, officials charge Leatham and Suri Dow with murder. Lesotho is not charged, but police report having contact with her at the scene. November 13th, 2022, after Lesotho's apparent death, the California landlord Curtis Lynn is stabbed, and when he was he was ambushed by the people. Eventually, he shot two of them, like I said before, and killing one of them. And eventually, because of this, he ends up calling the cops, and the cops end up coming across Lesotho. And they knew he was alive, and they ended up contacting the deputy district attorney and told them, like, we were saying Lesotho was contacted by PD over the weekend. He was on the scene and alive and well. So like they knew at that point, but I just feel like later on, like they are surprised when I guess they find them again. I don't know. They didn't seem to do much about it. But so now on to Suri Dow. Details are slim about Suri Dow, one of the two people charged in connection with the melee at Lynn's property. Dow, who was 23, was allegedly part of the group that attacked Lynn in November 22, resulting in the death of Bohanian. Dow was taken into custody and charged with first-degree murder. According to court records viewed by the San Francisco Chronicle, Dow has allegedly been in communication with Ziz since being put into custody. Ziz has encouraged Dow to escape from jail, prompting Dow to flee from the cell. I think that's funny. And Dow has been removed because they don't see him in the jail list anymore. Seems to have moved to a hospital in the mental ward. So then we have in December 2022. Get to the next slide. You got them now. Rita and Richard Zanko are shot and killed in their home in Chester Heights, Pennsylvania on New Year's Eve. A neighbor doorbell camera captures audio and video of a car pulling up to their home and a voice shouting, "Mom," and another voice exclaiming, "Oh my God, oh God, God." January 2023, police are questioning the Zacco's daughter, Michelle, at her home in Vermont. A few weeks later, officers briefly take her into custody at a Pennsylvania hotel, but release her without charges. Lasota, staying at the same hotel, is arrested and charged with obstructing the homicide investigation and disorderly conduct. And
that's their daughter who was a man, right? So she's trans. That's what's confusing.
That's what to tell you the truth, what I think the deal is. I think all of these, I could be wrong, but I think all of these are dudes going to women. That's what
right. Right.
Make it a little easier.
Wasn't Lasota's reappearance? This was like, surprise, I'm not dead, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
They thought he was dead, right? And then he's hiding out in this hotel room.
Yeah. But then the other ones were told that he was still alive after Curtis. So I mean, it's like, it seems weird. I just don't understand that. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. January 2nd, 2023, Rita and Richard Zanko bodies are found inside their home in Chester Heights, Pennsylvania. Rita was 69 and had a gunshot wound to the back of the head. Richard, who was 71, the bullet wound to the right hand and another to his right temple. They were determined to have died 2 days prior to New Year's Eve. And the PA State Police said it was believed not to be a random act of violence. And 10 days after the Zacco bodies were discovered, the PA State Troopers showed up to Candlewood Suites near Philadelphia Airport. They had a warrant to search the room and car of Michelle Zacco. They knocked on the Zacco's hotel room and took her into custody. Troopers were looking for the handgun believed to be involved. State Trooper Matthew Gibson testified in court that as they were leading Michelle out of the hotel, she called out to the hotel staff at the front desk to tell Daniel Blank that she was being detained. Troopers knew Blank because they had previously interviewed him in connection with the double homicide, the court testimony by Gibson. Trooper went to Blank's room, banged on the door. Blank answered but refused to open the door. Gibson testified that this prompted troopers to return to their barracks to seek a search warrant for Blank's room. They returned to the hotel with a search warrant, and no one responded to an order to open the door. Troopers forced the door open to find Blank and a second person hiding in the bathroom. Troopers arrested Blank and the second person identified as the Zith. They got him. According to transcripts, troopers issued commands and Lasota did not do anything. Yo, this motherfucker played dead. He had his eyes closed and would not speak, and he just laid there unconscious. Like, he's like one of those, like, oh, if I don't see them, they'll forget about me, I guess. Like, this is the type of mentality you're dealing with. Fucking crazy. Yeah, so they finally got him.
That's outside of Pennsylvania. That's where the Zajko parents were killed. So it's a suburb of Philadelphia. Sorry.
Now a little bit about Michelle Zacco. She was a bioinformatician in Media, Pennsylvania. She was Research Institute for Children's Hospital of Philadelphia. She analyzed blood samples and psychological data to determine how predictive miRNAs are of neurobehavioral susceptibility in sleep-deprived individuals on the NASA Human Research Analog Environment. She analyzed blood samples and physiological data to determine how predictive miRNAs are. And yeah, I think I just said that. NASA performed pathway analysis, used statistical methods such as linear mixed models and machine learning methods such as random forest to detect predictive biomarkers of acute sleep deprivation and stress. She went to Temple School. She was involved in Cabrini University. And she was a bioinformatics intern at NASA Ames Research Center from 2018, June to August, 3 months, 2018. So you got like two connections to NASA there.
Did they meet through NASA? I don't recall. Was there any evidence of those two?
I don't know. Yeah, I was starting to think about that, if there was a possibility of that, right?
Oh, for sure. When NASA Ames is right there in Mountain View, I'm sure William's familiar with the location there in the Silicon Valley. It's kind of a staple.
Yeah, that may be something to look into. Lead Strong was another thing they were involved with. The High Impact Network and Fair Trade Activities. Think, real quick, that's another one of these places that is this whole whatever. The goals of the High Impact Network are to, one, encourage people to think strategically about the best ways to improve the world, and 2, to help people interested in strategic altruism to organize and take effective action. I think you guys get the idea. And again, Sam Bankman-Fried is associated with altruism. Another thing that he was involved in was against malaria. This one sounds a little silly. It's from Canada and Germany, and it's a part of GiveWell, and the owner is Rob Mather. They protect people from malaria by supposedly setting up nets for people. Yeah, I think it's probably a scam. Nobody's getting anything. Daniel Arthur Blank. Daniel Blank was born in Berkeley, California, and always excelled in school, earning straight A's and praise from his teachers. He competed on a Science Bowl team and throughout middle and high school and was fluent in 3 languages. Blank, who became vegan in college, graduated a semester early from the University of California, Berkeley, with a double major in bioengineering and computer science, according to a resume posted on his LinkedIn profile. As an undergraduate, he conducted research for 2 Berkeley professors and interned at Oracle and Daphnia Labs.
Well, so that's Lesotho too, right? Also,
No, this is Daniel Blank.
I know, but wasn't Lesotho?
Oh, yes.
He passed through Oracle too, if I remember.
Blank's mother said he accepted a high-paying corporate office in Oakland following graduation. Blank's parents told Open Vallejo in an interview Monday that they believe their son's involvement with the group may be a result of brainwashing. He's not a violent person, his father said. Alexander Blank. I don't think that Daniel actually did anything really wrong except maybe being with the wrong people. Public record shows that he's never listed Sacramento as a home address. Maryland court records show that the home address he gave authorities after he was taken into custody is actually a private mailbox station on Rockingham Drive in Rancho Cordova. A representative for the firm told the Sacramento Bee on Thursday that Blank had rented a virtual mailbox for 3 months last year, never having stepped foot in the business. He did everything online. Blank had rented the box to have mail received at a physical location and sent to him electronically. And in Maryland, and I can't exactly figure out how, but he was supposedly known for faking his death in 2022. Again. Then in June in 2023, this is another thing I find interesting, is how these people even got bailed out. June of 2023, Lesotho released from custody after posting $10,000 in bail. He failed to return to court, and the judge then issued a bench warrant. Friedman said that he hadn't heard from Lesotho since 2022 and had no idea of whereabouts. I represent vegans. We believe in nonviolence. Violence, Friedman said. So, Felix Buckholt, who also referred to in court documents as Ophelia, begins renting half a duplex in Chapel Hill, North Carolina. Ophelia Buckholt, who's dead, also had a work visa from Germany and went to the University of Waterloo, which steals a connection. He grew up in Germany, where he was a mathematics whiz kid, winning awards and accolades in his scholastics for both math and computer science at a national level. The university media release from 2019 said Buckholt was a member of the school's team that competed at the William Lowell Putnam mathematical competition. In 2014, won the gold medal at the International Olympiad in Informatics. It's the most prestigious high school coding contest in the world. Online records show that he was involved in the university's computer science club as an executive member. He interned at Jane Street Capital in New York, an elite quantitative trading firm, in college. And then he transferred to female after college. Buckholt's now deleted LinkedIn profile said he worked in New York's office of Tower Research Capital, the high-frequency trading firm. He joined Tower in October of 2021, following 2 years at Radix training. And if I even remember correctly, this job, they're making $500,000 a year. So, and after graduating, landed a quantitative job trader. Making $500,000 working for a New York City trading firm. In 2022, AI researcher Jessica Taylor, who was involved in the Berkeley rationalist scene, met Buckholt at an event in New York City. She said Buckholt was bright but a bit weird, socially awkward, but not usual of people there, even different than them. He hung out several times over the year, and discussions became centered on Ziz. Buckholt was enthralled with the Zizian tenets. And basically, disappeared. Even their friends, her friend even told her to stay clear of them. They were considered a death cult. Doesn't listen. They lived in an apartment in New Jersey, in Jersey City. And the apartment was a gathering place for her network of friends and educated transgendered women. And then we're going to get into Teresa Youngblood a little bit.
If I may interject there, Nick, this character that worked at the Wall Street high quantitative trading firm, what was this Transtifa Zizian member's name again?
That was, I'm trying to find the exact, the right one.
Buckhold?
Ophelia Buckhold, yes.
Yeah, Ophelia Buckhold.
Yeah.
Felix Buckhold. There we go. I couldn't remember the original name there. So old Felix Buckhold and Sam Bankman-Fried were there at Jane Street Capital together.
Oh.
Wow. So they're close. That's close. I don't think Jane Street Capital is like a big outfit.
No, and Bankman-Fried's responsible for their single biggest loss in one day of $300 million while they were there.
Wow, that's wild.
Yo, and Felix was even taking spent 10% of her pre-tax income and donated to charities and shit that she was supposed to do.
Interesting
So
character.
definitely using that money. Yeah. Yep. Teresa Youngblood's parents report her missing in Seattle after she sends her mother emails saying she has moved in with a friend and changed her number. Teresa Youngblood, she went to University of Washington. Youngblood attended the prestigious Lakeside School in North Seattle. In November, she applied for a marriage license with Maximilian Snyder, who is facing charges for fatally stabbing a man in Northern California. Notably, Snyder is also an alumni of Lakeside School. Youngblood and Maximilian Snyder applied for a marriage license in Washington State. Also this month, Youngblood begins renting a condo near Buckholz in North Carolina. Maximilian Snyder, again, he's alumni of Lakeside School. Snyder went on to study philosophy and computer science at the University of Oxford in the UK, according to his LinkedIn page. He was also at Stanford in 2019. More recently, he lived in a condo in Kirkland, northeast of Seattle, that is owned by his mother. Both Youngblood and Buckhold were renting separate units in the same Chapel Hill, North Carolina neighborhood. The owner of the properties, who requested anonymity due to the safety concern, noted that Buckhold had been renting one unit via Airbnb since July 2023 before moving to a second unit later that year. Youngblood began renting her unit in November of 2024 and paid nearly $10,000 to extend her stay until the end of the month. Again, even stuff like this and them getting bailed out, I can understand the rich one being able to bail themselves out. I mean, is he flipping the bill for them, or where's this money coming from?
Right. They're well financed. And that Lakeside private school, that's Bill Gates' he's an alumnus of that school as well. Wow. Up there in Seattle.
Wow.
That's a wealthy school, you know what I mean? So these families probably have some wealth as well, and maybe feeding into some of this business.
I think you're right. They're well financed. They're able to move around. They're jurisdictional. It's incredible. That's the tie in this Maximilian Snyder guy to Oxford, to Scarlett Blake, who was also really an international smiley face killer. She killed Jose Carreño, but the person who told her about her, right? It was a male to female, like these guys.
Exactly.
Was another male to female from Austin, Texas. And Scarlett Blake used to fly to Austin, Texas, and to Colorado. So it's weird. These guys are moving around, these trans killers. It's crazy.
And then we'll get up to what happened before the other shooting. Youngblood and Buckhold check into a hotel in Londonville, Vermont on January 14th. Investigators put the pair under surveillance after a hotel worker reports concerns about their all-black tactical clothing and a gun Youngblood was carrying. January 2025, January 17th, Lind, the landlord in California, is killed. Snyder is charged with murder, and prosecutors allege he was trying to prevent Lind from testifying against his earlier attackers. And again, the murder occurred 3 days prior to the Border Patrol shootout. The hearing postponed, and the attorney no longer was representing him. On January 20th, U.S. Border Patrol officers pull Youngblood and Buckhold over on Interstate 91 in Coventry, Vermont. Agent David Milland and Buckhold are killed in a shootout. Youngblood, who is wounded, is charged with firearm. is charged with firearms. And that was another thing I do want to bring up too. When they pulled over Youngblood, it was more of just like during the traffic stop, they got pulled over and Youngblood just like got out. It was just like bam, bam, bam. Like, I don't know. It's almost like robotic, kind of like the way they describe it. Like zero fucks or thoughts about it. It was just got out and started blasting. So I don't know, who knows who's behind that. Maybe they thought they were fucked and just said, fuck it, we're going to go out.
I think there's a picture of the guy dead on the ground next to his car somewhere.
Really?
Yeah. Let me see if I can find it.
I think that's exactly what went on, Nick. You're spot on target there, friend, because I think these folks knew they were being monitored up there in the Northeast Kingdom of Vermont. It's a very rural and secluded area, sparsely populated. So these Trans-Tifa folks stuck out like a sore thumb when they set up a cult compound up there. So I looked into some of their filings and registration documents up there. A number of them filed for residency back in 2020 on this property up there in Coventry. So I assure you, as a bootleg Vermonter who spent most of my summers in the state, in the central part of the state, most of my life, these folks are going to stick out like a sore thumb and draw a lot of attention, especially in a more even less populated area where they were in. So I think they were being followed. I think they knew they were being followed, and this was some sort of culmination of a shootout that we don't effectively understand because no one's really releasing the details about.
Yeah.
I think that's his dead body in front of the car, if you see that here. But that's the shootout, the Border Patrol. This is
damn. Okay.
January 30th, 2025. Andy No, I think, reporting for New York Post. Vermont motel alerted authorities about seeing the duo with firearm and black tactical clothing. Balcolt died at this one. So there are two Zizians who died. It was Balcolt and Ohanian. Balcolt died in Vermont and Ohanian died in California, right?
Yes. Buckholt and Teresa Youngblood had been under surveillance for several days prior to being pulled over, like JJ was just saying, in the Toyota Prius for an immigration check. A network of friends and said Buckholt had been drawn into a cult-like group. The guns that were found with them after the shooting had been purchased by someone purporting to be a resident of Orleans, Vermont, from a licensed firearms dealer in Mount Tabor, Vermont. According to Pennsylvania State Police, the firearm used in the Vermont incident was purchased by a person of interest in the December 31st, 2022 murders of Richard and Rita Zacco in Chester Heights, Pennsylvania. Both Youngblood and the gun purchaser had been in regular contact with an individual linked to the Pennsylvania investigation, who is also considered a person of interest in a separate homicide case in California, as detailed by U.S. Attorney Michael Drescher in court documents. That person, the prosecution memo says, is a person of interest in a dual homicide investigation in Delaware County, Pennsylvania. Buckholt flew into the United States in the hours preceding the Pennsylvania homicide. Both the defendant and the person who purchased the firearms in Vermont are acquainted with and have been in frequent contact with an individual who's detained by the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania during that homicide investigation. That individual is also a person of interest in a homicide investigation in California. The government motion says Youngblood had traveled internationally in each of the previous 3 years, although no information on which country or countries is provided. I find that weird. The FBI also seized a journal that allegedly belonged to Youngblood. It contains sections written in cipher text, which is encoded messages that need an algorithmic key to decode. Some portions that can be read include phases suggesting hallucinogenic drug use. Prosecutors say, including, and these in parentheses, coming up on acid, not really sure what to spend this trip on. This LSD trip seems pretty mellow, and I feel kind of high vibration-y, maybe more so than other LSD trips. So obviously drugs are being used. The couple raised alarms when seen skulking about small-town Vermont dressed in black technical gear. Youngblood was also, Youngblood was also wearing an exposed pistol in a holster, according to an FBI criminal complaint. Open carry of a firearm is legal in Vermont, but it added to concern in a hotel clerk in Londonville, Vermont. So, obviously they looked like they weren't, from around there or up to no good.
Right.
The couple didn't talk much with the officers who came to speak to them, and they checked out of that hotel soon after their contact with the officers, according to a criminal complaint by the FBI. The pair traveled north and instead spent the night and next 5 days in Newport. Court records reveal that Youngblood and Buckholt had been under surveillance for several days leading up to the January 20th shootout. They saw Buckhold buy rolls of aluminum foil at Walmart and then sit in the couple's car wrapping unidentified items in foil sheets. The FBI later found the foil wrapped cell phones at the scene of the shooting.
Wow. So they were like tactical. What are they? They were operational security. They were engaged like spies or something, like covering their cell phones, gear, guns.
They were
someone activated them, right?
Yeah, something weird is going on.
When they got
much more to this story.
When they got caught, they got caught with guns, ammunition, tactical and computer gear, full face respirators, night vision goggles, ballistic helmet, shooting range targets, and several computers and electronic devices. Even back at Lynn's, I might have left it out because it was at the bottom of something that I knew that I found. When they went there, they found syringes and those machines that you normally use on women when they're pregnant. I forgot the fucking name of that. They found one of those machines. Now, the syringes, I would think, is possibly for the shooting the estrogen. But, who knows? What are they doing with one of those other machines?
So they are full-on biohackers. My understanding is when you go through the trans thing, the low levels of estrogen may do something, but high levels whack you out. Like your sex, if you don't get your genitals cut off, it does something to a male genitalia if you have too much estrogen. Like you don't have it's not the similar function of a man. You're no longer really like a bio man. Like if you take too much estrogen.
Yeah.
Have you ever
chemically eunuch or something?
Yeah, I was just gonna say that.
I saw it I was watching a show Redacted where they went into it, and it's pretty graphic, but apparently if you take too much estrogen, you have something called a broken glass erection, which means that it's super painful.
Oh,
so that then when you're engaged in that activity, it's associated with pain and suffering, not pleasure, right? And so it's like mixing up the brain waves, because the stimulus to your brain isn't pleasant. It's not, you're not enjoying, right? Because you have so much estrogen, you have this painful, situation.
Oh, yeah, you take too much. You'll start.
Yeah, that's what's happening with these trans people. They're been giving huge doses of estrogen, amongst other things. Yeah.
And then just like real quick, also, on February 16, 2025, when Lasota and Zacco were arrested, they were also dressed in black and two wore gun belts holding ammunition. A rifle was found in the back of one truck and a handgun on the front floorboard. Also, Zacco, who refused to put her hands behind her back, was taken to the ground carrying a handgun. A Maryland court has ordered a blogger known as Ziz. Sorry, repeat myself. But yeah, so they did get caught with a lot of shit too. Eventually, once they got caught, they definitely had guns and they had weird equipment.
Lots of weird equipment. It's the transpocalypse attacks. So this equipment they get busted with in Vermont, I tend to think that this compound up there that they seem to have been operating out of, that's being obfuscated from reports and focusing on this hotel, it seems to be a lot more Zizians running around up there. For example, the one you were talking about, I think that's mentioned as the unnamed party who purchased the gun from Orleans, Vermont. That's the one I'm talking about. Blank, I think it was, who registered as a resident there back in 2020. So there seems to be more, like maybe the equipment and ammunition and guns were only a portion of the cash from the nearby compound from where they were staying at this hotel. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Lots of weird stuff though, for sure.
All right. Well, JJ, I'm done. So it's up to you if you want to take off with your rabbit hole here.
All right. Well, I'd like to put out some notes on these weird medical experiments you're talking about, because one of the most fascinating aspects I find about it is these hemispherical brain experiments they're doing,
right?
Which seem very MK Ultra like. And when you look at the full tactical activated assassin stuff going on here, it makes you wonder what is going on with this group, because I guess, correct me if I'm wrong, Nick, they're trying to intentionally, through sleep deprivation, drugs, and other measures, trying to make one side of the hemisphere of the brain more activated than the other, and then vice versa, playing with each side.
Yeah, they do even have practices, I think, where they cover one eye, like it's supposedly, like I think, supposed to start to shut off the other side of your brain. Like they even have ways of like which I think I actually read into. There is something to that, but like they're trying to do it.
It's called unihemispheric sleep, UHS, a form of sleep deprivation, which is never good. Like sleep deprivation and the association with mind control. That's one of the kind of things: isolation, sensory deprivation, sleep deprivation. It's not good. Wow, crazy.
I can definitely go into old Jack Lasota, the Zith Lord's California attorney, who basically, how deeply involved in this fake death he pulled off in the Bay Area. It's inconclusive. Clearly, this guy was his representation out there in criminal matters at that time, preceding his fake death that he was avoiding there. So, and he is referenced in the obituary as the attorney, who's sending this alleged death notice out to newspapers and stuff. So, to what
What's
extent
his name?
His name is, like, if I may share my screen here, I'll go through a quick tour of this character and
Sounds good.
show you who he is. Dan Kaplowitz is his name. And when Ziz is arrested in when he's arrested there in Maryland, this guy's quoted in the media basically saying, "Oh, he's a nice guy," that kind of thing. So, to the extent of the relationship today, unclear. But this is the guy who was representing him in cases preceding his fake death. Dan Kaplowitz ran for LA District Attorney in 2024 for the Green Party. Got a lot of votes, actually. He was actually a contender, strangely enough, Preceding that, he was in the exploitation film world. And he one of his friends and mentors in that world is OG Processy and John Waters, film director, Hollywood film director.
I didn't know John Waters was a member of the process. Wow.
Oh, yes, sir. He, you don't have to take my word for it. You can just take John Waters' word for it. He starred in the Satanic Temples process church film back there in 2016 called Sympathy for the Devil, the true story of the process church of the final judgment.
I had no idea. Wow.
I believe by Waters' own account, he joins circa 1970. So, this onset of these weird exploitation films that he makes in Hollywood. But
right.
His underling is go ahead.
Have you ever seen Pink Flamingo?
Yeah. Holy shit.
Some weird stuff.
I didn't know. It makes perfect sense now. He's totally assaulting the culture with this kind of stuff.
Sure.
I didn't know that. Wow. That's crazy.
So, yeah, his underling there, Dan Kaplowitz, who would later become an attorney and again, Ziz's attorney there in California. Dan Kaplowitz's wife is an interesting character. You're familiar with one of her friends, William. Boyd Rice.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Her name is Giddle Partridge. She and Boyd Rice were bandmates for 5 albums in this industrial rock scene.
Wow.
So Ziz's attorney's got some interesting friends. His backers in his political campaign equally as interesting, if you ask me. Notably to, some process type activities and consideration of, relationships that folks like Bob Evans, an alleged early process leader there in Hollywood and major film producer, was deeply connected to Henry Kissinger. And no one could ever figure out that relationship. Tabloids would be like, why are these two hanging out together? And fast forward, you have Kissinger's underling, Brent Scowcroft, another national security advisor to numerous presidents. His underling would, an assistant of his, J.J. Bryan, would be a neo-process leader, starting this Victorian offshoot of the process through these art galleries across America. So it's weird. It's weird. I see then this guy right here, David L. Aaron, the former deputy national security advisor to Carter, back in this Kaplowitz character, right, for his endorsement for district attorney.
It's a small world. Wow, it's crazy.
Have you ever noticed that trend with some of these process and/or satanic cult activities relative to these national security matters?
I have not, but I am not that surprised. Here's Brent Scowcroft writing with George W. Bush. A world transformed. This is
perfect.
Something else, yeah.
So David Aaron here would be the replacement to Scowcroft. Scowcroft was the deputy to Kissinger, and then later the advisor there to Nixon. I'm sorry, to Gerald Ford And then Aaron would come in as Zbigniew Brzezinski's assistant to the Carter administration as the national security advisor. So, very, very powerful character backing this guy for district attorney. However, equally as interesting to me is this character here, Bob Ferber. He's a former deputy city attorney and full-time animal cruelty prosecutor, first full-time animal cruelty prosecutor in the nation.
Wow.
He also happens to run a series of no-kill animal shelters all across Los Angeles, and they're all financed and funded by the Best Friends Animal Society.
Wow.
So Farber here actually goes back in the DA's office back to 79 there in Los Angeles. He was a DA until, I believe, 2013, from 79 to 2013. So he worked back there for another kind of process-adjacent district attorney, Ira Reinhorn, there at the assistant. He was the deputy. He was the defense attorney for Leslie, one of the Manson girls. I don't want to misquote it, but yeah, one of the Manson girls. So he would later then become the district attorney for Los Angeles from 1984 to 1992. So
what did he cover? What case?
Lots of them, right? From 84 to 92, right? You got Richard Ramirez, you got the Cotton Club murders, you got, the
McMartin. I think he was overlooking McMartin.
McMartin. Pretty interesting character, right? So this guy, they knew each other, right? Because he worked for Reinhorn there. But so Faber's got some interesting, connections. I don't know for a fact that he knew this guy right here, but this guy right here is another guy who recently got busted, financed by Best Friends Animal Society. His name's Stephen Baldwin. He was here in Ohio. He's kind of the Best Friends Animal Society go-to pit bull trainer, right? That's how this guy was a key role in their whole system. And him and his associate, after they both worked as Humane Society officers in Ohio, then they both fled charges after stealing a bunch of money and killing a bunch of dogs. Now, the carcasses of these dogs, to all court records, have never been seen. This guy just got put away for 15 years, but he fled initially on those charges, him and his cohort. He goes to Los Angeles and is employed by an organization that was started and directly related to the district attorney fellow here, Bob Ferber, right? The former district attorney fellow and no-kill animal shelter guy. So whether or not they directly know each other, it's unclear. However, this guy fled charges in Ohio, went out to Los Angeles, set up a different no-kill animal shelter. Best Friends continues to send him pit bulls. For example, they sent him pit bulls from as far away as Austin, Texas during this time, right? So, and I like his tattoos he's got there. It says "Save Them," right? And save them being the Best Friends logo, save them all, right? So Snapcats is that Bob Ferber's main charity in Los Angeles, but again, he's integrated into all of these no-kill shelters down there. So when I see this pit bull guy escaping charges in Ohio, going down there, getting the pit bulls still down there, and connected to an organization that was started by Bob Ferber, I have to ask how much do those two know each other? Because the other cohort in the Ohio charges, he fled to El Paso, and Best Friends kept financing his operation down there too while these two were evading charges.
Wow. Absolutely incredible. They're all into the whole, judiciary here in LA. It's off the charts. No wonder so many weird outcomes happen,
It's pretty wild. And not only did the U.S. Marshals have to step in and go find both these men in Texas and California and bring them back to Ohio for charges, they were humane officers for the county, so they were stealing money from there. They were also stealing dogs from there. Again, by all court records, there are no signs of carcasses. So I'm assuming automatically at that rate, they're not just euthanizing as the court claims. I suspect these are being used in some ritual effect. That's my opinion, of course, but based upon there's no record of these euthanized dogs, they're just, suddenly murking a lot of dogs with suddenly no body somehow I have questions. And so they stole a bunch of money throughout all these processes. And again, he went to California, murked another 18 dogs, got more charges down there. And, these things are still pending. He just got sentenced in Ohio last week. And last year, 2 years ago, when he came back for those charges, finally, his fingerprint got in the system, this Stephen Baldwin fellow. And he again, the top pit bull, one of the top pit bull dudes within the Best Friends whole network. And again, they financed him on his fugitive status in California. This guy's fingerprint came up in a missing case out of New Hampshire in 2004, the case of Maura Murray, if you're familiar with that one, William.
Yes, Maura Murray, the totally mystery case, right? Disappeared on the side of a road somewhere in New England, right?
Absolutely. Yep. Upstate New Hampshire there. Yep. Yes, sir.
Wow.
So his fingerprint came back in that case, and the New York State police investigator is quoted as saying that, you know, he's still the number one. He's still their number one suspect in the case, and the FBI is now involved with questioning the guy too. So
it's Stephen Baldwin character, right?
Stephen Baldwin and there's a couple good thorough investigations of this guy already within the animal societies, right? So there's all these different no-kill other folks that aren't really associated with the Best Friends Network who are all calling this guy out over the years. So they've done some good backgrounds on the guy, but he changed his name from, I believe, Stefan Klockenstein or something. Just stand by 1 second. I'll give you the actual name.
Wow, he had 32 counts. He was guilty of 32 counts. So this guy's like a raging criminal. Charge of cruelty to animals, grand theft, bribery, telecommunications fraud, tampering with evidence, and impersonating a peace officer. Wow.
Yeah, and they stole millions of dollars. This was the screen I just shared. If you want to put that up there, William, his cohort in the Ohio operation, they stole millions of dollars and killed a bunch of dogs. This was a different guy. He fled to Texas. He continued to do the same nefarious actions in Texas that he was doing here in Ohio, as did Baldwin in California. So they didn't stop, even though they were under investigation and charges. Wow. So these are the pieces they don't necessarily, aren't really being discussed with this Baldwin character, but he seems to be a very integral player in this network. Again, lauded amongst all. I mean, the Best Friends scrubbed their website of the guy's articles, but you can find all the communities discussion boards discussing this guy over the years. I mean, he was a very controversial figure.
That's incredible. This Maura Murray case is almost like the Delphi case or something like that. It's just in almost every true crime investigation, whether it's a blog, a podcast or blog or YouTube channel, they always talk about this mysterious case of Maura Murray. And there's this guy, Stephen Baldwin, whatever his real name is, associated with him. Yeah, fictitious name.
So they allegedly meet at West Point. They dated at West Point when Maura Murray was at West Point. He allegedly leaves West Point the same time she does, right? He just allegedly resigns. He's got a very dubious record that he's perpetrated over the years regarding his Army service and apparent alleged enlistment after he leaves West Point. So he's got a real shady kind of military situation going there. But he also has missing ex-girlfriends or other girlfriends that have died under mysterious circumstances, apparently.
Wow. This is a whole nother show. Holy smokes. It's unbelievable. I didn't have any idea. So he's connected to these animal shelters. All these other characters are leading back to like Kaplowitz, to the Zizians, to all this stuff. Wow, fraudulent dog whisperer. Holy smokes.
That's a correct assessment. Yes, sir. And this guy, the fraudulent dog whisperer here, quoted in the court system of Ohio as the serial killer of dogs. He was a very affluent character. Character out in these affluent communities, that are always perpetrating these no-kill kind of things. He's doing dog shows. He's the go-to guy for pit bull trainers, right? If you have a pit bull that had a problem, this was your guy. And again, even when he went to California, Best Friends was still shipping him pit bulls from Austin, Texas. Wow. He's a nationwide star in these communities. Again, he had a lot of detractors. Again, they've built some interesting forms of kind of public search and investigations on the guy, which again draw into question his activities over a decade. This guy's been doing a lot of weird stuff for a very long time.
Wow, crazy. The hit came back to a print found in the vehicle where Maura Murray was last seen before her disappearance in February 2004. James Renner, a journalist and well-known for the True Crime This Week podcast, has been following this missing persons case for a long time. The last thing I ever expected was for Stephen's case to intersect with Maura Murray's disappearance, but here we are, Renner said. Wow.
Wild stuff, isn't it?
PD, yeah, that is totally crazy.
So that's his story. No, law enforcement has not confirmed this CD story. Neither has the FBI, neither New Hampshire State Police. So that is the story in which this fellow Stephen Baldwin has told James Renner, the author of one of those Maura Murray books. So do that as you will, with just taking that into consideration. That may not be the full story of where this fingerprint was, or the only fingerprint. Granted, it was 2004 when she disappeared. They hadn't seen each other since 2001. She had a different car, so whether or not she had the same CDs over that time, I suspect is remains to be seen. But
one of my interesting things from my research into the Zizians is like this center. What is it? The Center for Applied Rationality. Yes. One of the heads. They have some interesting heads. Like if you look into it, but I found a picture like of a guy who's like all over my social media for some reason. But this is one of the heads with this guy Destiny. So Eliezer, and then Destiny's kind of, I guess he's a leftist influencer or whatever, but he is like polyamorous, I guess is a way to put it, or whatever. Like weird stuff. Like this guy's really out there, man. Have you looked into this guy, Destiny?
No.
Okay, I won't get into it. It's too graphic. I've already been graphic enough with some of my stuff today. But look up this guy, Destiny. This guy on the left, his name is Eliezer, and he pops up at this. I think it's the Center for Applied Rationality. Let me pull that up. That's this one right here. So if this is it, he's either on the staff or maybe it's Moshowitz. I forgot what his name. I thought he was associated, but some of these guys are pretty, Jack Carroll, obviously trans or whatever. I forgot. Like he's either associated with this somewhere or workshops. He's either associated with the MIRI or CFAR. I can't remember.
Well, I know we talked about this transpocalypse win before today with Scarlett Blake, as you mentioned, with the Oxford connections you were talking about there. There's a number of these kind of examples with these spree shooters or mass shooters of a transpocalypse nature. I myself am a transpocalypse survivor from a fellow who would later go on a multi-state stabbing spree and murder a fellow in Connecticut and Massachusetts last year.
Wow.
This fellow kind of stalked me, not the immediate preceding that, but preceding that we had some interesting interactions as he demanded I hire him as my PR rep. I have no idea what any of that charade was about. It lasted for nearly a year, but nonetheless, he would later go on to stab and murder some folks. And he's this transpocalypse nature, and I feel like these cases don't get any media coverage, much like the Zizians not getting effective media coverage on these topics. I don't know if it's a political, social thing with this whole trans nature business of these topics, but nonetheless, I haven't done a deep dive into the court records of the Zizian stuff. I've started to, and it's dubious of nature as far as some of these records go and with the activities that are going on. And I'll make that same reference with Buffalo Jared Revisa. They're out of Connecticut and Massachusetts. You can go and search the court records. You're not going to find his case, and you can find his legal name change to Jared Jones on Martha's Vineyard, and in that court. However, the media continues to report is always reported his name is Jared Revisa, and his name was legally changed to Jared Jones a year prior to his onslaught of transpocalypse terror. So there's something going on with this transpocalypse cases, across America for sure.
There's more, guys. I was looking at just what you're talking about, this transpocalypse. There was one where a guy tried to kill the bomb. He wanted to send a bomb to the U.S. government. His name was David Cassidy. That was January 31st, 2025. There was another guy who was headed off to kill the head of the Treasury or the Department of Treasury. I think his name is Bessemer, but he was like, that's a new attempted murder. So like this whole Zizian thing is happening in the context of other attempted killings and things like that. So it's not, and supposedly the guy who was piloting, I don't know if that was ever confirmed, who was piloting that helicopter that caused the plane crash was trans. Did you guys hear that?
I did not, but let's not.
It wasn't really a woman. Yeah.
Let's not soon forget the trans individual there at the Riley Strain event, right? With the smiley face cover on her phone.
Right.
You know,
When I
insert
was
himself in the
wh-
situation.
when I was studying kind of the SFK cases, wasn't keying into the trans element, but there was one. His name was Naz Muhammad. Naz Muhammad. He's from Australia. He was in Georgia, and there was this trans person all around this case doing really heavy duty, crazy stuff online. And in my mind, I thought it was a woman, but then it turns out it was an African American trans person. I got to go up and pull up those files again and look at them again, because it'll freak you out, because that dude was wearing a smiley face necklace. Like, it's just off the charts. Like, whoa, this is like coming into this. The other trans person was Scott Bessent. He was trying to kill him by ramming his car and driving a knife into Trump from another January 30th, 2025. Anyway, just to go back, this is Eliezer Yudkowsky. He's part of Miri, so you'll see that on there. This is his what do you call it? Wikipedia, Machine Intelligence Research Institute, and then this is him with this guy, Destiny. And if you want to have a bad day, look up this dude. These are strange people, man. This, to me, this is a really strange person. This guy on the right. And I forgot, like, this is how weird the like media landscape is. He was like friends with Ben Shapiro, right? Daily Wire, conservative Jewish guy. And this guy on the right says there's like a back door of communication between some of these other guys in the so-called alternate media, where this guy who's like pansexual, banging dudes and women and whatever, can call Ben Shapiro and ask for help. So Ben Shapiro is basically promoting this guy. So all these weird kind of mysterious promotions that you don't see on the surface, this guy's validating this guy on the right, Destiny, associated with this guy Eliezer Yudkowsky. He's the head of Mary.
Yeah, so that doesn't shock me, William.
I could do a whole nother show on this guy, Destiny, and it would be unpleasant. It would have to be rated X. Like, it's bad, dude. Like, anyway.
Well, Shapiro is probably his entertainment lawyer, right? Isn't that what Shapiro?
I don't know, but it's like Shapiro's representing Christians. He moves to Nashville, Tennessee, in the buckle of the Bible Belt, and he's like a mix of Jewish and Christian, supposedly. And then he's like supporting the farthest of the far left wacko trans, rainbow flag freak zone that you'd imagine. He's friends with that guy Destiny. Like, that's would be like, yeah. I love you, my brother, but you do you. You're part of Sodom and Gomorrah, and I don't believe in your cultural, values. Anyway, so this is another one, January 30th, 2025, trans woman, Scott Bessent and Trump. There's only one earth, no future, no choice. Kind of totalistic language. And then here's another kind of thing before we wrap it up. I know we're getting close to an hour and a half, but I screenshotted this off of X. A study from 1988 found that 54% of sex killers investigated were transvestites.
Wow.
I think how many we've had of them bucking shots off lately, too.
Pardon me?
They've come up for random, shootings. We have had.
No, there's just all kinds of trans violence, man. It goes back to the broken glass stuff and how estrogen affects you and the dysmorphia and I don't know, like you're taking new hormones. Like men self-regulate their hormones. They go exercise or do things. They whatever, self-regulate their aggressions and stuff like that, or channel it into hard work or whatever. But like, imagine like a dude having that and then taking a bunch of estrogen. Like, it must whack you out.
Oh yeah.
You can go.
It's the transpocalypse.
Yeah, transpocalypse. That'll be our next show, transpocalypse, because I bet you could just go find so many. Sure. And it's just like Scarlet Blake. They're not reporting it. Like in Scarlet Blake, he was a woman to them, to the judiciary. Like the judge did not qualify it. Right. He should have said, this is his real name at birth. He decided to transition to a woman through Tavistock. It's an interesting story too, because Mark Carney, who I studied inadvertently on the Pilgrim Society, just took over from Trudeau in Canada as the prime minister. He's listed in some of my slides for my Pilgrim Society presentation. His daughter went to the Tavistock Clinic. So his daughter was a man who transferred to a woman, just like Scarlett Blake at the same clinic. Nice. How many of these people overlap with each other? It's got to be a small community. Just like that one guy who for the Scarlett Blake case, whose name I can't remember, dressed in fatigues like these guys, right? He was dressed
for sure.
There's a picture of him. The guy who ratted out Scarlett. Sorry.
No, that's what I was going to bring up to you. That's a great point. It was that character you shared with us also. This Austin, Texas, fatigue wearing Satanist transpocalypse person was also selling sex ads, right? Same as that Niles Muhammad situation with the trans person there, right?
Yes, yeah. I have to get my Naz Muhammad files and go. I'll try to put together a video so you can see it. It is trip because that trans dude to female was in the sex trade too. Like she was doing or she was doing like, burlesque shows or whatever, nude shows. And it was interesting. Dude, this will blow your mind. That's where I keyed into the Black Dragon Society because somebody at one of those masquerades had this black dragon tattoo that I saw on another victim of the smiley face killers. It's so freaking crazy. They use the same insignia and same determinants. It's really wild. Anyway, guys, we are close to the 90-minute mark. Why don't you promote yourselves, I know, JJ, you've been working. I follow you on social media, so I know you've been doing shows independent of the Occult Rejects. Maybe you can talk about your work and where people can reach out to you and where people can find your new podcast. Or add anything you'd like to add before we wrap it up, too, whatever you like.
I appreciate your time, Wayne. Appreciate the conversation, and it's always great. I enjoy these discussions here on the Occult Rejects here with you on these various crime topics, including the Scarlett Blake case. I think, in my opinion, you have identified a variety of very salient characteristics in this whole transpocalypse smiley face killer crossover situations you've queued onto there with Scarlett Blake, this Niles Muhammad situation, this these transpocalypse satanic assassin characters who were involved in the sex trade. These things should not be ignored. As far as these communities being big, I think those communities are very small. I think all of those folks in those communities know each other, and that's how they travel, as all these folks do within those pipelines, I believe, across the states, across the Atlantic, etc. So yeah, that's we did a number of shows on that. The Occult Rejects there with you, William, and I think that's some good stuff for folks to check out. But yeah, JJ Vance, host of Operation GCD, and I've been doing a lot of coverage on the Idaho 4 case. If folks are interested in that, I recommend checking that out for sure. And I've been doing a lot of Son of Sam process conversations as well over there with folks like Jonathan Mitchell and Dana from Rotting Jewels.
Awesome. How about you, Nick? And I'll put links to all your stuff, JJ. So I'll put that. And I reposted the old Scarlett Blake interview I did with you guys. So that's also on my social media. So you can click through the links. I'll put it through the show notes for this as well. But Nick, anything you'd like to add?
Oh, yeah, the Occult Rejects on BitChute, Rumble, YouTube, and all major podcasts. I do have my first video documentary dropping tomorrow as a premiere on YouTube. If people want to check that out, who catch the live tonight. Should be the one of it.
What's the title?
It's the St. Patrick's Catacombs in New York City. It's based on that. It's not too conspiratorial. It's a little bit more historical, but it was like my first kind of small shot at trying to make a documentary. The next one's coming should be a lot more deeper in occult and historic, informational. But it's my first one.
St. Patrick's Catacombs.
Catacombs, right? Yeah.
How long is it?
I think it's about maybe 38 minutes.
Okay, cool.
But it's all video and everything. You don't see us at all. And it's in 4K. You can watch it on your TV. It looks sick.
Nice. Catacombs. Do you have a link to that, or I could probably find it on YouTube? Huh?
It will drop tomorrow at the premiere at 11 o'clock.
Okay, cool. So tomorrow, 11 o'clock, St. Patrick's Catacombs on the Occult Rejects YouTube channel, right?
Yes.
And then where can people find the Occult? How many episodes? You guys have been doing a lot of episodes.
Yeah. Over 500 episodes, I think, in Spreaker. But yeah, we're over 4 years going now, and that's on all major podcasts as well, besides BitChute, Rumble, and
awesome. Congrats.
YouTube. Thank you.
And I know you're on X too, so I can.
Oh yeah, X and Instagram. Yes.
I can put links to.
Yeah, I got my link tree for all that.
Excellent. Link tree is even better. I got to put a link tree together too.
You do.
Guys, another great show. Thanks for all the information. Really crazy stuff is
Thank
going
you.
on. Be careful. This is a recent case, guys. This is all like, I mean, it's come to the surface in the last 2 or 3 months, but like, it's not stopping. There's other like wild and crazy stuff. And that's this whole kind of like social upheaval that they're advocating is like, this is part of it, in my opinion, some of the stuff. And these may be like the front soldiers. I have to do another show on Genesis P. Orge because he's like one of the early trans guys, but he was smart. He had a philosophical bent. Like he said stuff like, we are the front soldiers of the revolution and overcome and anti-Christian and all this, you know, he's a Crowleyite, loved Burroughs and all that stuff. I cover him in Children of the Beast, but there's another show about that guy too. So I got to go back and look at. I have to look at some of my research in light of like the stuff I've learned from you guys and things like that. Anyway, we had 200 listeners on X, so thanks for everybody for listening there. And also, you can find my show on Rumble and Rockfin as well. But JJ Vance, Operation GCD, and Nick of the Occult Rejects, and we unfortunately didn't have Liza with us, but hopefully next time. So thanks for everybody. Thanks everybody. Thanks for listening. And also please share the shows.
Yes.
I think right now, like I don't have an ad budget. We're all kind of in the alternate media. We don't have friends or secret investors like Pete Thiel to pay for us or support us or get us on shows that could get like us other people to listen to our work. So it's much appreciated if you share shows like this. If you like it, share it, please. Please share it on your social media. Do us a huge favor. It's just a huge favor. It only costs you a click. And if it's really something you like, and you like it, you can like it. That's good. But sharing it is even better because then we can get more people to kind of see kind of a different light of what we're doing in our research. And it facilitates more research, actually. So if you share it, that means more income. That's better things. That gives time for Nick to make documentaries, JJ to do other great episodes with other great researchers like Dana and Mitchell, and helps me also continue and do other things, put out more books. So sharing is caring. So please do that. That's really my mission this year, is my New Year's resolution.
Nice.
Anyway, to wrap it up, JJ Vance, Nick, thanks so much for your time. Really appreciate it.
Hell yeah.
Thank you.
Stay there.